So, widgets. They are a pretty important part of the WordPress system, to say the least. Understanding how they're used is also really, really important. For every page in our theme, you're going to find that there are different regions. You've probably come aware of this by watching a couple of the other tutorials already. And a given region can be assigned any number of different sidebars, or widget areas as they might be called. And that's what we see over here. So we might have a top region in a page, and it may be assigned the utility sidebar if you want. You might have a main content area, and it might be assigned main content area 1, or maybe it's assigned main content area 2, or maybe main content area 3, so on and so forth. We've created 6 different main content areas for different types of layouts. And so we've provided a whole bunch of flexibility in this that you can have. I think there's 10 or 12, maybe even more regions in each page. Now, each layout may or may not have each of those regions available for you to change. For example, the top menu bar in a lot of the themes is static. You're not going to be able to change what goes in the top region. It's always going to be the top sidebar because there's certain functionality that must go in that top sidebar, especially in the Fortis WordPress theme. In the Vesper WordPress theme, the sidebar or the menu sidebar is going to be probably in the header main. But so there's these different regions, and then you can assign the widgets to different widget areas, and those you can assign those widget areas to the regions. It's a couple different levels of complexity, but in any case, once you get it figured out, and in fact you can probably go with the defaults as we have it here, you can start playing with what you want in each area. So one of the things you need to understand is that each of the layouts, default layout, under construction, blog, business homepage, we'll go with business homepage, will have a configuration for each region. So for example, the top region, and I'm going to demonstrate this here, is by default set up with 2 columns, and the layout, because we're using what's called the bootstrap system, we can define however many columns we want and in which configuration. In Bootstrap there are what are called basically 12, you can have up to 12 columns. You could have a column that is more or less 2 wide, as we have here on the right, or 10 wide. It basically has to add up to be 12. All right. So in the top region, as we currently have it, on the home page we have 2 columns. Well, guess what? Here, we're just going to show you. We have 2 columns. You can see this one is, you can't see it, but if you could, you're going to see that it goes something like this. It's going to end right about there. Well, we're going to add another column there. And so I'm going to make this one, again, 2, and then I'm going to make this one probably 3, and this one's 7. So everything adds up to be 12. You don't need to worry about the math. You just need to use this little slider to determine how you want it organized. We're going to hit save. Okay. Now we're going to reload this, and we're probably not going to see any change because this will probably fit in the 7. This is going to fit in. So what has happened here, a really good example, is that this has moved along to the second column. It was already in the second column, but because we haven't added another column to that region, it's now residing in this region here. So the menu is in here, that other contact box is currently in there, and nothing is in the third. You're like, well, what do you mean? Well, here, I'll show you. Go to Widgets, and in the top region here. Now we're going to see that the column break as we have it here, defines when the column breaks. So we're going to add another column break. And then over on the right side, we're going to place a phone number. If I can find the phone number. Right there. Okay. So we can just minimize that. Phone number. Okay. Do I want to show the phone icon? Yes. Justification. Make that right. Hit save. So now what's happening is that we have the custom menu in column 1, and we break it. Contact form menu in column 2, and then we make a column break, and then the phone number. Now if we reload this page, you're going to see that another phone number is going to show up just up in this area here. Now what if we want to rearrange it? What if we want to have the phone number up here? Well, actually, this is a really good example of how things would look if we stacked them. So let's just by moving them around, it automatically saves. So let's just see how this looks. Phone number, and because the menu actually is a float left and not a and this is not a div block, they're not going to stack one on one another, but they are within this column here. And now we haven't defined in every region the styles for each one of these, so the phone number doesn't necessarily look well in here, whereas it looks like it fits in here. There are ways to style these and punch the margins down. We're going to go through that in a detailed tutorial later. But suffice to say, this is how you can go about rearranging things. Now, let's go back here. We're going to move the contact form back over here. Let's try this over here. And this is probably a little bit more in line with how it was originally, with the phone number just over here. Now, of course, we can change the justification to the left if this is what you wanted it to do. And so that's the end here of the first column. And so the next column is 3 wide here. And that's more or less all there is to working with the widgets in the different sidebars. There's the dragging and dropping, and we can actually hit delete if we wanted to. We could add additional sidebars. You've probably seen that in a previous tutorial where you can have additional sidebars. You can create as many as you like as well and assign them to whichever regions. And then there's the ability to change the type of layout for each particular region. Now there's one caveat here, is that every page in this site, as we have already defined it, uses the top region, which is right here in this particular theme. And so by changing the widgets that are included within that region, in that sidebar, I should say, it will look differently on each layout if you do not add this as 3 column and this as 3 column. So where this is utilized the best is, move this back over here, 2 column. And move this back to a 2 column as well. Where this is utilized best is when you have your own custom regions. So for the, or should I say, the main region. This is really used a lot for the main region, in that if you want to, on this particular layout, so the default layout, always have your always have 3 columns, then that's where you'd want to go and change this. But it adds for more flexibility in future versions of the framework as well. Anyways, I hope that doesn't confuse you too much and makes some sense and gets you onto adding more widgets into your site.